Hello, and thank you very much for tuning in to the podcast series by the New Silk Road Project. I'm your host today, Charles Stevens, the founder of the New Silk Road Project. This series is dedicated to understanding and raising awareness of one of the most important development strategies of the 21st century, China's Belt and Road Initiative. The centerpiece of the New Silk Road Project, an initiative supported by Jeep, CSIS, Magellan Capital, the University of St Andrews and Shira, was to travel the course of the Silk Road economic belt from London to Yiwu in eastern China, interviewing the key actors and academics along its course. We will have to apologise in advance for some of the tangential moments in this podcast series, and also the variable quality of audio footage. We do hope this series sheds important light into China's growing global presence and the significant changes taking place across Eurasia. Having spent most of our time so far in academic institutions, it was quite nice to go to the corporate offices of PwC in Kazakhstan, where we were greeted with lattes on demand. Here we spoke to Torsten Thieme, the digital technology leader for Eurasia, located in Astana, the capital of Kazakhstan. He looked at the way in which digital and physical infrastructure can merge in order to facilitate important solutions to pressing problems. For example, he looks at aligning customs and law in order to facilitate the greatest efficiency to the trade corridors which the Belt and Road Initiative is helping to build.
Yeah, professional background. I'm here now in Kazakhstan as a digital and technology leader for Eurasia. Means I'm dealing with different industries, with different topics. Besides, among all what we are doing for financial services, let's say in this way, I'm more and more into logistics. And if we are saying here in this region logistics, we have to say Belt and Road Initiative. What is a very well accepted initiative here in Kazakhstan. And as you know, we will have it during our talk today, raise up a lot of questions. And there are a lot of opinions and a lot of different players on the ground. So, beside this logistics piece, it's more, as I said, financial services. I worked in Germany for PwC for financial services. We are into all this digital transformation, blockchain, fintech, and so on. And especially if we raise blockchain, there's a question, do you talk about cryptocurrencies or what are you talking about? I want to talk, if we are raising blockchain every time, first about smart contracts. And this is quite well connected with all these logistic discussions. I think we come back on this a little bit later here during our discussion.
And if we could just start off, in the report that you co-authored, you highlighted the Belt and Road Initiative as a unique opportunity. In what ways is the Belt and Road Initiative a unique opportunity?
Look, if we are looking to Eurasia, there's a very large country called Kazakhstan, and for a lot of people in Europe, it's somehow in nowhere. No one knows exactly where it is, how large it is, and so on. This is one thing. Kazakhstan, of course, is well recognized by China because it's a neighbor, and we have some more issues here. This is one, it's a developing country. We have the 100-step plan here in place till 2050 to get among the 30 most developed industrial countries. What is a huge effort, and there are a lot of initiatives around. But still, as I said, it's a country anywhere, nowhere, between Russia, China, and then there's Europe on the other side. And the question is, how to develop this industry, how to develop this country, how to diversify from oil and gas and coal mining to a prosperous, well-developed economy. And while we are saying the Belt and Road Initiative is a huge opportunity, we are saying if Kazakhstan is well positioned in this Belt and Road Initiative, there's a lot of value getting back to the country itself.
And you highlight international transit as an important growth area for the Kazakhstan economy in the future. Other growth areas are tourism and agriculture that have been highlighted in recent reports. How can these three areas work together to generate synergies to to help perpetuate the growth of the Kazakhstan economy?
If we look to these pillars, they are not contradicting each other. We think if we start to think about international transport, and there's a huge value for clients in Europe, because if we miss the northern route, then we save some days if we go through Kazakhstan. What is the value for Kazakhstan? If you want to go through Kazakhstan, you need the proper infrastructure. Means first we have the infrastructure investments to bring up to speed the freight trains, bring up to speed also the road transport. We get a better infrastructure, a higher quality of infrastructure here in Kazakhstan if we are able to attract the clients in China to ship via Kazakhstan to Europe. Vice versa, this is a big question for the Belt and Road Initiative. Just now we are seeing a lot of transfer from China to Europe, but what the Europeans transfer to China, this is a huge issue for the business case of the transports in the moment. But there are some developments that are saying, okay, in some areas it's possible to bring something back from Europe to China. This is, for instance, food. There are milk products, there's cheese, maybe not as much as they transfer from China and toys to Spain or anywhere else, but still, it's growing up. Why it's not contradicting agriculture and tourism? For agriculture, on the one hand, it's a strategic initiative of Kazakhstan to develop the agriculture here. There's a lot of grain could be transported. Especially in the south, there are fruits you can transport. And grain is okay, grain is dry, but if we are starting to talk about fruits from south of Kazakhstan, bringing them to Europe, it's about the speed. And it's not compatible with the air freight, because air freight is quite expensive. Then the best case is we ship them via trains, via containers to Europe. For tourism, it's a little bit different. It's under discussion, said it, I think 2 weeks ago also by the government here in Kazakhstan. This is also a strategic pillar of development, because they realize it's a very nice country. No one knows again. And how to bring the tourists from, for instance, Europe or Russia, Uzbekistan, to Kazakhstan. The main areas or the main people are coming from Russia and Uzbekistan as a tourist to Kazakhstan. That were the latest statistics from last year. But to attract people from Europe means also to get into people are able to spend more money here. What is a cycle, yeah? If we attract the first generation of adventurers going into Kazakhstan and tell the others, over the time it gets more settled. And more settled in terms of infrastructure again, because the people here in Kazakhstan are able to invest in their own hotels, pensions, and whatever they have here. It's good for the towns in Kazakhstan, because they get also more money to spend it again for infrastructure in terms of lighting, safety, water supply, and so on. To me, it's a starting wheel, and one thing is very crucial in tourism, how to get there. And how to get there, I connected with the Belt and Road Initiative. If we have high-speed trains in the direction to Kazakhstan, it would be great. You know, maybe the infrastructure developments to create high-speed trains between Beijing and Moscow. Otherwise, there are corridors from Berlin to Moscow. They are under construction between Moscow and Kazan, the high-speed train, together with the Chinese railways and Siemens. These are all parts, and there are some agreements around that there should be also a high-speed connection between Moscow via Kazakhstan to Uzbekistan once. It's a starting point, but it supports, the one hand, tourism on the one hand, but it's also crucial for fast freight trains between these countries. So that's why I'm saying it's not contradicting each other.
And with these aligned businesses and sectors, how can PwC help facilitate the growth of these new trade routes?
Now, look, PwC is a large international company, and we have a lot of experts. And as usual, we work mostly in every area, every pillar, whatever piece in this belt initiative, and we can contribute to it. This is starting with capital projects, how to control capital projects, how to plan capital projects. This is one pillar. To create, let's say, a business architecture over the whole economy is also very interesting, because what we find, there are a lot of not coordinated initiatives yet. It would be great to have an understanding of the whole picture, the whole business architecture, and out from this business architecture, because the business is paying out to this initiative as well. You can drill down to infrastructure, you can drill down to regional development, you can drill down to anyone else. Then the next pillar, I think it's important for this initiative, is digital. Everything about digital. We have at least two layers. This again related to infrastructure, to digitize the processes, digitize the infrastructure, that you get out the data you need to make your clients happy. This is one side. And of course to optimize and do the efficient jobs using the infrastructure, planning the usage of the infrastructure. The other side is to digitize the assets itself, that you know everywhere where the train is, how is the loading, is it too cold, is it too warm, where is it, when am I expected this delivery, anywhere in the end point, and so on and so on. So I said, capital projects, architecture understanding of the whole initiative, digital, and beside of course, it's somehow also what we can support strategic views on, the lobbyism, and if we're saying lobbyism, there is a huge issue what we find yet. If we look from China to Europe or back, you have different law systems, you have different customs, you have different documents, you have to have them in paper. If we're going the way in harmonizing first all this, let's say, regulation background, this would be a huge step, could be supported by PwC as well. And the next step in my mind is not yet, but then after, that we are able to digitize all these documents also. We are talking here in the digital union inside the Eurasian Economic Union, or the digital union means in customs, in taxes, that it's not any longer the paper you have to have. But once you're getting out this digital union, this vision, it's not settled yet everywhere, but it was started already in Kazakhstan and other countries here. If you're getting out, you need to get papers. Now this is a task, I think, beside infrastructure, enablement, let's say in this way, all these investments there. There's an investment into regulation framework.
And Kazakhstan's internal development strategies, such as Strategy Kazakhstan 2050, sets clear guidelines for a path towards sustainable and green development. Is PwC also on this path towards helping to facilitate a green future?
Yeah, that's a big question. What is the green future? There's a lot of different understanding. We had last year the World Exhibition in Astana, dealing with green energy and sustainable development. What we have now, where we are involved, is in projects around green energy. And the question you raised up, what is the connection between the background initiative and this development goals? We think that once we have the awareness that the transport corridors should go maybe 50-60% via Kazakhstan, we will have the investments here, and the big task for us, for PwC, for the government, and also the industries here, is if there is investment, to do it in a sustainable way, in a green way, let's say in this way. To connect this sustainability and green economy goals with the investments we will have. Not to make it dirty, to make it clean. I think this is the task, what we raise up again and again, how to connect all these goals, how to align the strategic initiatives and the investment initiatives we have already.
And focusing on Astana, where you're currently based, just around 2 weeks ago now, the international IFC was open there. What prospects do you think this gives to Kazakhstan to develop as a key hub within BRI and also a key financial centre. Do you see it being able to play a role similar to that as London, Hong Kong and Shanghai?
Yeah, look, the wish is to play in the same level like Singapore, London, Hong Kong and so on. It's a way. It's started now for me. The Astana International Finance Center is a platform first. And it would be great if the traction is coming latest in next year to speed up here as a platform for financing different initiatives regional. Means between Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Armenia, whoever, and of course with the huge and the very important partner China. And if it is in a way that we are able to consolidate in the Astana International Finance Center these investments, these projects, and control also the projects, this would be great. One part of this, why I'm positive with Astana International Finance Center, is under UK law. It's making some things more complicated, of course, especially if you're here in the region, but it promises that a lot of things get easier because they are following international standards. And if you imagine from the history, the law system here in this region after 1990 developed in different directions because of different reasons. I don't want to get into this, but the unification here could be the UK law for corporates, for privates, for investors, and so on. And maybe nowadays already the arbitration court in process to settle down there in the Astana International Finance Center. There's no need to go any longer to London. You can solve this in Astana. Let's say, if we consider Astana International Finance Center first as a regional hub. But as I said, it's a way to go, as usual. Getting more mature, getting people, get an attractiveness that the investors trust this Astana International Finance Center.
And in September 2017, when you co-authored that report on the New Silk Road, you estimated that by 2020 TEU throughput through Kazakhstan would be 1.7 million. Do you have any information to suggest that this goal is on track?
It is on track. If you follow the statistics from Kazakhstan, you will see that there's increased freight transport not only inside the country, also from China to Europe. And if you're following the news, there's mostly every month announced a new connection between Poland and China, between Germany, Spain, France, wherever is involved here. And there's also an outlook that there will be new directions via Kazakhstan to the south of Europe. I think this is an underestimated region. There are a lot of investments from EBRD in the moment to improve the tracks there in South Europe, to close links between the corridors. This could be also a very interesting part of this road initiative. And another piece, I think we're coming a little bit later on this, is the connection between Russia and India. India is a huge market on the one side, but also it's a huge producer for steel and other industrial goods. And so to finish this, I think it's possible. It's an effort, again, a long effort between all these participants.
And of course, Kazakhstan, given its strategic positioning, can be an important corridor along the New Silk Road. But can it ever function as a independent economic hub whose future isn't so closely tied to that of other regions?
Maybe start again. Sorry, I didn't get it. Which question was it?
Question 7. Let me go through it again. So, Kazakhstan can be an important part of the New Silk Road, a part of a transit corridor. But as a result of being part of a transit corridor, your futures are very closely tied to those of your neighbours, because a transit corridor has to function as a coherent whole. Unless it doesn't function, can Kazakhstan ever play a role in which it's an independent, autonomous economic hub whose future isn't so closely intertwined with that of its neighbours?
I think there are at least 3 areas we have to consider. The first one is Kazakhstan positioned himself politically as independent. What was over the last 25 years very important. I think there's no change expected that Kazakhstan is going to put this on that side. It will remain, hopefully, it's my wish and my guess, as an independent country on the political landscape. The second, an independent player in terms of economy, this is, I think, it's paying in this strategic goal of diversification of the economy till 2050. Maybe it takes a little bit longer. In the moment, Kazakhstan is very dependent on oil and gas and coal and other other areas of industry. But diversification could happen, and there are some over the last years some developments that foreign investors coming to Kazakhstan to invest here in Kazakhstan, and the question is why. Of course, the wages are in the moment low, but on the other hand, it's somehow a stable country. What is important for investors? It is a country invests in education and the skill set. It's not on the point to compare with international standards in the moment. It's also an effort. There are a lot of investments in this, also by World Bank, for instance. But the expectation is that we will have here a set of workers are able to produce somehow reasonable cheap with standards around, because this is a very important thing in Kazakhstan. We have already the environment standards, we have the labor standards here. You have to consider this. What makes it somehow also in this field of stability attractive, because we have worldwide the discussion, is the goods what I use, if it is food, if it is textiles, whatever, how it was produced. You can put any labels on, but you know there were a lot of scandals in the last year about this. This is a field where Kazakhstan may position himself in the industrial production as independent. Coming to the last layer, it's related to investments. Staying independent if you need money. This is a tricky task because, let's say, mostly if it would happen, the China investing here, there's the risk that it's more looking for China. If it is Saudi Arabia, it's looking more for Saudi Arabia. If it is US or any other country, doesn't matter. What I see yet, it's the task for the government here to diversify the investments, not to keep too much to one eye only. This is what I saw so far. They are open, and coming back to the International Finance Center, this would be also, not would be, it is also a task for the Finance Center to attract diversified investors here in Kazakhstan.
And you mentioned earlier the importance of north-south connections between India and Russia. Is Kazakhstan placed in a way in which it can also benefit from north-south transportation as well as east-west links?
If we are looking at this, there is one issue I didn't mention before. Kazakhstan is one of the largest countries in the world. If you're looking at the map, there are some towns, in between there's a steppe or the desert. And the question is, what to do with this huge amount of land here, and how to develop the centers, Almaty, Shimki and Astana, and then if we go a little bit broader, Pavlodar, Karaganda, Kislovodar, Aktau and so on. How, in general, how Kazakhstan could benefit if there are investments in the corridors. It's possible to transfer between these centers in a different way than they do today. If we invest in the roads and the train and the tracks, it's possible to create a shared economy between the different centers. There is the opportunity to develop different industries better, because the logistics around is more mature than today. I think this is the most attractive for Kazakhstan to participate in this international transport. I'm not into saying that there will be a significant increasing in the next time in trade between India and Kazakhstan. It's somehow for the moment settled. Hopefully it gives new visions, opportunities to make a different trade between both countries. If you consider maybe I'm not really sure about this, that some production is going from India to Kazakhstan as well. I'm not sure about this, but at least if you develop your own country in these terms, it will be a huge benefit already.
And the report that you were involved in is co-authored by people from PwC internationally, which suggests to me that there's quite a lot of emphasis placed on the Belt and Road Initiative by your organisation. What happens if it doesn't work as well as anticipated or even fails?
As a PwC company or in general?
If the Belt and Road doesn't manifest in the way which is being expected by much of the business community, do you have what would be your approach given this scenario?
Look, this is on the one hand very simple, on the other hand very difficult. What is the task for Kazakhstan getting into this developed industrial countries? A lot of topics remaining, even if the Belt Road would fail, but I don't think so. Let's say if the Belt Road is not as much as expected over the time, there's still that the task to invest in this infrastructure, and I'm saying not only in the transportation infrastructure and all the other infrastructure. This is one piece. The other piece is what I mentioned already, diversification of the industries itself. It means, and it's very simple, if you look to other countries like the Czech Republic, Eastern Germany, Poland, and so on, there's ongoing industrial transformation, a business transformation, or at least increase the efficiency of the companies, but decrease the amount of workers there. The task for government here in Kazakhstan is to develop the small and mid-sized enterprises, to observe all these workers, to make sure that this prosperity is still there, and increasing, of course, to observe the new people, because Kazakhstan is a country slowly but developing out from 16 million now to 18 million people. You need a labor force. Means even if the Silk Road is not as successful as we think today and expected, there is the starting point to think the industry in Kazakhstan in a different way. If you follow this idea that you use the Silk Road investments, what we have today, to develop their own regions, the regional development here.
And being intimately involved in the business community, how do Kazakh and Chinese business practices differ?
Yeah, that's a point I can't really judge about it, or we see that, and by the way, to introduce this, we have this German business group inside PwC, a Chinese business group, and the main task is to help them to get into business in the other countries. What is very helpful in terms of law and taxes. What differs between Kazakhstan and China is the one thing, the funding is different, so means the position to do something is already different. And maybe you consider if we have the money to invest, it's easier to do some things, and sometimes also things you don't think exactly that there will be a business out. The other thing is the mindset and the skill set. I think in China it's more developed the willingness to get some things done, because the one thing, of course, is the funding of these initiatives. The other thing is the reporting and the pressure to make this initiative successful. And there's a pressure on the people acting here, so they want to get the things done. This is somehow different from Kazakhstan. It's more still in the models, let's try something and then we wait. Hopefully it changes a little bit in the future, that there are more people as startups, as entrepreneurs, as in Kazakh investors, with a willingness to get some things done. from the skill set side, we have quite often a discussion, if you need some people in well-educated people, skilled, trained people with experience in China, it's easy to get them. It's quite hard here in Kazakhstan to get them. If it is data management, if it is digital understanding, solution development, if it is infrastructure, whatever it is, it's quite hard to find the right people. And we are still now here in Kazakhstan, this is a difference in the business. To make the business, you need to skilled and trained people, but sometimes it's very hard to find them. So it's going quite slow. And this is it's a competitive disadvantage to other countries that we need much more time to set it up. We need much more time to deliver. And sometimes it seems it would be easier to invite the foreign countries, foreign investors, to get the things done here. But this is not sustainable. We are saying to get help from abroad, to get investments from abroad, that's fine, but we have to keep care that we collect the experience, get the skills, the people here in Kazakhstan.
And just two last questions, if I may. What do you think is the single greatest challenge to the Belt and Road Initiative over the next 5 years?
To the next 5 years, I think it's to get an alignment in law and customs. That's a challenge. Because, every project related to law is taking a lot of time. Because to get alignment on the different levels takes time, experts, and of course it's not really clear in which direction it's going. To make an example not related to the Belt Road, Mr. Nazarbayev stated that it would be great if the United Nations take over the regulation of blockchain. You can imagine how long does it take. So getting this aligned is a challenge. The existing situation is a challenge for the business itself, in terms of efficiency, in terms of investments.
And if you were to summarise the Belt and Road Initiative in both one word and one image, what would these be?
The initiative is, to me, the huge opportunity to connect the different countries, the different economies, to create a corridor of aligned production. And why I'm saying this, the big task is to make it sustainable.
And if I could push you for one single word which you feel summarises your feelings about it, what would that word be?
If you ask it this way, it's great to be part of this initiative, because it's not one word, sorry for this, because I'm feeling very excited to work on it.